I said that you didn't call the police because you naturally assumed that I would phone them from the hotel.
Why did you say that?
Because it was the perfectly logical explanation, and he accepted it. You see, if they got the idea that we had delayed reporting it even for a few minutes, they might get nosy and start asking a lot of questions and...
So you want me to say the same thing?
I think so. Ding dong. Just in case it comes up again. I expect that's Max. Let him in, will you, darling? I'll just get rid of these. Good morning, madam.
Oh, good morning.
Mrs. Wendis?
Yes.
I'm a police officer. May I come in?
Of course. Excuse me, I'll tell my husband you're here.
Thank you. I hang up my coat. Good morning. Good morning, sir. I'm Chief Inspector Abbott. I'm in charge of the criminal investigation of this division. I think I gave your sergeant all the necessary information. Yes, I've seen his report, of course, but there are a few things I'd like to get first hand. I gather my sergeant only saw you for a few moments. Mrs. Wendis?
Yes,
My wife was suffering from considerable shock. Yes, that was a very nasty experience you had. Mind if I take a look around? Go ahead. The bathroom and bedroom are through here. I look around. Well, he certainly didn't come in by the bathroom. And the kitchen has bars on the window. We assume he must have come in through these windows. I understand that you weren't here when this happened, sir. No, I was at the dinner party at the Grandin Hotel. Just down the road. Yes, by a curious coincidence. I was actually phoning my wife when she was attacked. So I gather. Can you tell me exactly what time it was? I'm not sure. Did you notice, Mrs. Wendis?
No, I didn't.
You phoned the police at 3 minutes to 11, sir. Let me see. In that case, it must have been about a quarter to 11. By the way, won't you sit down, Inspector? Thank you.
Have you any idea who he was?
Yes. At least we've discovered where he lived. There still seems to be some confusion as to his real name.
Oh?
He appeared to have several. Had you ever seen him before?
Why, no, of course not.
I show photos.
Oh, is this him?
Yes. You don't recognize him?
No, I never saw him.
Didn't you even catch a glimpse of his face?
No, you see, he attacked me from behind and it was dark. I hardly saw him at all.
But before I showed you these photographs, you said you've never seen him before. How could you know that if you never saw his face last night?
I don't quite understand.
Inspector, my wife simply meant that, as far as she knew, she had never seen him before. Was that what you meant?
Yes, I'm sorry.
How about you, sir? Ever seen him before? I show the photographs to Tony. No. At least... Yes? It's very like someone I was at college with. The moustache makes quite a difference. What was his name? Now you're asking. It's nearly 20 years since I left. Was it Lesgate? No. Wilson? No. Swan? No. Swan. Wait a minute, Swan. Yes, that's it. Look, here's an old photograph taken at a reunion dinner. We were at the same college. There he is. It's unbelievable. Did you know him well? No, he was senior to me. Have you met him since then? No, at least, come to think of it, I did see him quite recently, but not to speak to. Where was that? About 6 months ago. It was at a railway station. Waterloo, I think. I remember noticing how little he'd changed. Had he a moustache then? No. Mrs. Wendis, would you show me exactly what happened last night?
Tony, do I have to?
Afraid so, darling.
I was in bed when the phone rang and I got up and came in here.
Did you switch this light on?
No,
Just show me exactly where you were standing.
I stood here. I picked up the phone.
Are you sure you had your back to the window like that?
Yes,
But why?
why not?
Why go around the desk? I should have picked it up from this side. Surely my wife can remember. Just a moment, sir.
But I always answer the phone from here,
Why?
so that if I want to write anything down, I can hold the phone in my left hand.
I see. All right, go on.
I picked up the phone. Then he must have come from behind the curtain and attacked me. He got something round my neck.
Something? What do you mean by something?
I think it was a stocking.
I see. What happened then?
He pushed me over the desk. I remember distinctly feeling for the scissors.
Where were those scissors usually kept?
In that blending basket. I'd forgotten to put them away.
Now, what makes you think he came in from behind those curtains?
Where else could he have been?
The curtains were drawn, I suppose.
Yes, they were.
Did you draw them yourself? I drew them, Inspector, before I went out. Did you lock the window at the same time? Yes. Are you quite sure of that, sir? Perfectly sure. I always lock up when I draw the curtains. Then how do you suppose he got into this room? We assumed that he broke in. There's no sign of a break-in. The lock's quite undamaged. But he must have done. When I got back, that window was wide open. At least... Margot, are you sure you didn't go out into the garden last night and forget to lock up afterwards?
I did go out for a moment. After he attacked me, I wanted to get some air. I pushed the window open and stood on the terrace outside.
Did you call for help?
I'd just spoken to my husband on the telephone.
You say you pushed the window open. Are you sure you didn't unlock it first?
Yes, quite sure.
Was it already open?
I don't remember.
Mrs. Wendis, why didn't you ring the police immediately after this happened?
I was trying to get through to the police when I discovered that my husband was on the line. I naturally thought he would call the police from the hotel before we came here.
Didn't it occur to you to call for a doctor?
No,
Why ever not?
he was dead.
How did you know that?
It was obvious.
Did you feel his pulse?
No, of course, I didn't. Anyone would have realized he was dead. One look at those staring eyes.
So you did see his face after all?
I saw his eyes. I can't remember his face.
Inspector, my wife has obviously never seen this man before, and if he didn't get in by those windows, how did he get in? As a matter of fact, we're quite certain he came in by this door.
But it was locked.
Margot, did you open this door at all, and forget to close it after we'd gone?
No,
How many keys are there to this door?
only two. Mine was in my handbag, and you had yours with you.
That's right. Has the caretaker got a key?
No.
Do you employ a charwoman?
Yes, but she hasn't got one either. I'm always in when she comes.
What makes you think he came in that way? His shoes. His shoes? The ground was soaking wet last night. If he'd come in by the garden, he'd have left marks all over the carpet. He didn't leave any because he wiped his shoes on the front door mat. How can you tell? It's a fairly new mat, and some of his fibres came off on his shoes. But surely... And there was a small tar stain on the mat, and some of the fibres showed that as well. There's no question about it. Wait a minute, I think I've got it. You remember when your handbag was stolen?
Yes,
Wasn't your key inside?
yes, but it was still there when I got it back.
Just a moment. I like to hear about this. What sort of handbag? A handbag, Inspector. My wife lost it at Victoria Station.
I got it back from the Lost and Found office about 2 weeks later.
Was anything missing?
All the money had gone.
Anything else?
No,
No papers or letters?
no,
Are you quite sure about that?
yes,
And your latchkey was in your handbag when you lost it?
yes, but it was still there when it was returned.
Whoever stole that money could have had the key copied. Where was the bag found eventually?
At Victoria Station.
But not until several days later, by which time he could have had a duplicate made and returned the original to the bag. Before you go any further with this, how did he get in through the street door? The street door is always unlocked. I see. He could have had your key copied, and he could have used it to open his door. But of course he didn't. We know it. Because if he had, the key would still have been on him when he died. But no key was found when we went through his pockets. I see. Well, we seem to be back where we started. Not quite. You said you saw this man at Waterloo Station? Yes. Are you sure it wasn't Victoria? It may have been. When did you lose the bag? Wasn't it that weekend when we went to Peggy's? Yes, it was. It was Victoria. I remember now. He was sitting in the restaurant when I saw him. And was that where you left your handbag? Yes, it was. You were with me, of course. I didn't say something about... There's someone that I was at college with.
I don't remember.
It looks as if he may have had something to do with that handbag after all. The next thing is to get all this down on paper. I'd like you both to make an official statement before the inquest. My office is only a few minutes from here. Perhaps you could come now? Excuse me.
Hello, Tony. Margot?
Max, this is Inspector Hubbard. This is Mr. Halliday. Inspector, he was with me last night.
How do you do?
Mr. Halliday, as you were with Mr. Wendis last night, you may be able to help us here. Did you notice what time it was when he went to the phone?
Yes, it was about 20 to 11.
How did you come to notice that?
Well, when Mr. Wendis got up from the table, I thought for a moment we were leaving the party, so I looked at my watch.
Thank you, sir. You see, it was when Mrs. Wendis came in here to answer his call that she was attacked.
You mean you were phoning Margot?
Yes.
But I don't get this. I asked you if we were leaving, and you said you were just going out to phone your boss.
Tony, I know what it was I was going to ask you. Did you phone me last night? Why did you phone me last night?
Now, just a moment before I lose the thread of this. At about 20 to 11, you left your party to phone your boss? Yes, I used the payphone in the lobby. Now, how long were you on the phone to your boss before you called your wife? As a matter of fact, I never did speak to him. I couldn't remember his number, so I rang my wife to ask her to look it up in the address book on the desk.
You mean you hauled me out of bed just to give you his telephone number?
I had to. My boss was flying to Brussels this morning, and I wanted to remind him of something. It was rather important. Wasn't there a telephone directory in the hotel? Yes, but he was at home. His home number isn't listed. So you never called him after all? No. Actually, when I heard what had happened here, I forgot all about it. I see. Mr. Halliday, Mr. and Mrs. Wendis are coming to my office now to make their statements. Would you give me your address, sir? I may want to get in touch with you.
Certainly.
I'll get my coat.
I'm staying at the Carfax Hotel.
Just write it down now, will you? Telephone number as well. Ever been over here before, sir?
Yes, about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Inspector, there's a devil of a crowd outside. Can you send them away? Oh, they'll come back faster than they go, sir. I was going to suggest we left by the garden. Isn't there a gate at the far end? Yes, but it may still be locked. I'll just see. How much does he know about you and Mrs. Wendis?
What are you talking about?
You wrote a letter to Mrs. Wendis from New York. It was found in the dead man's inside pocket. I didn't mention it because I wasn't sure how much Mr. Wendis knew. Have you any idea how it got there?
No,
Where's Tony?
he's just gone into the garden.
Mrs. Wendis, when you lost your handbag, did you lose a letter as well?
No.
Margot, it was found in this man's pocket.
You did lose it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I asked you that before, didn't I?
Yes, but you see, my husband didn't know about it.
This man was blackmailing you, wasn't he?
It's no good, Margot. Tony will have to know about it now.
No.
It's the only thing to do. Inspector, after Mrs. Wendis lost my letter, she received these 2 notes.
Last February. How many times have you seen this man?
I've never seen him.
Mr. Halliday, I'd like you to come along with us.
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Wendis, when you come down to make your statement, there may be other police officers present. I shall warn you first that anything you say will be taken down and may be used in evidence. Now, never mind what you've told me so far. We'll forget about all that. From now on, tell us exactly what you knew about this man and exactly what happened last night. If you try and conceal anything at all, it may put you in a very serious position.
I wish you'd explain what you mean by all this.
I will. You admit that you killed this man. You say you did it in self-defense. Unfortunately, there were no witnesses, so we've only your word for that. But I heard it all over the telephone, Inspector. What exactly did you hear, Mr. Wendis? I heard a thud, and did you hear anything to indicate that a struggle was going on? Well, what I heard was perfectly consistent with what my wife told me. So all you really know of the matter is what your wife told you, isn't it? You suggest that this man came to burgle your flat, but there's no evidence of that. There is evidence, however, that he was blackmailing you. Blackmail?
It's true, Tony.
You suggest that he came in by the window, and we know he came in by this door. By that door.
But he can't have got in that way. That door was locked and there were only 2 keys. My husband had this with him, and mine was in my handbag.
You could have let him in. You're not suggesting that she let him in herself. At present, that appears to be the only way he could have entered.
Don't you even believe I was attacked? How do you think I got these bruises on my throat?
You could have caused those bruises yourself. A silk stocking was found inside the window. It had 2 knots tied in it. Does that mean anything to you?
I suppose that must have been the stocking he used.
We found the twin stocking wrapped in newspaper at the bottom of this wastepaper basket. Can you explain why your attacker should do that?
No.
Those stockings were yours, weren't they?
No.
We know they were. One of the eels had been darned with some silk that didn't quite match. We found a reel of that silk in your mending basket.
Tony, there was a pair of stockings in here.
I've heard of police deliberately planting clues to make sure of a conviction. I just didn't realize that they did it in this country.
These men were in here for hours last night. They could have easily have taken those stockings out and done anything with them.
Of course they did. And they wiped his shoes on the doormat as well. Hello. Roger? Tony Wendis here. Now listen, Roger, we've had a burglary last night. Margot was attacked. No, she's all right, but the man was killed. The police are here now, and don't laugh, but they're suggesting that Margot killed him intentionally. I wouldn't say that if I were you. It's funny, isn't it? Now, can you come round at once to the Maida Vale police station? Thanks, old boy. Good night. It's all right, darling. Roger's going to meet us at the police station. Mr. Wenders, I should advise you, our lawyer will give us all the advice we need, thank you.
Here's your handbag, Margot.
Oh, thank you, Max.
You are coming, sir?
But of course, Inspector.
I see. Yes. I just wondered.